everyone, it's Shelby with Sister Locks.
And it's Lexi with Traditional Locks.
And we are Two Sisters Locks.
Stores are like Chelsea change. Now the lights spread the dimes. Time to spread this, your dreams dance at all. Godly thrones that be dancing a lot. Gather ransom, don't.
So today, if you haven't seen our last video, come whoosh across the top. Go check it out. It's why you should get locks. Today, we'll be doing the exact opposite, in fact.
Why you should not get locks. Now, locks so far has been the best and like the perfect decision for us in our hair.
Well, yeah. I've had a little bit of bumpy road, as y'all have probably seen in another video, but it has still been one of the best decisions.
Yeah, that wasn't your fault. And that's not typical locks. That was,
yes, that would not be the typical experience. That was font.
Stories to come
Shout out to
Nana.
Yeah, my grandmother.
Nana, good old Nana.
Good old Nana.
So it was like, it's honestly so far has been the best decision we've made for our hair. However, as much as we rave and say how great and beautiful lock journey is, it's not for everybody. It's not for everybody. And so we're gonna give you guys some things that we think you should consider, and some things that for you to think about that might make you say, you know what, I don't think locks are really for me. Okay?
Which is a good thing to find out too, right? That's still informative to know you shouldn't get locks. Like,
yeah, you don't want to spend your money.
Yeah.
If you did something like Sister Locks,
yeah, I know.
You don't want to spend your money on something that you're not really into, or that's not going to be sustainable for a while. So, but first, we need you all to do what?
Subscribe. There's a big red button. It literally takes so little bit of your time.
I don't know how to describe it. It's like a rectangle.
Yeah.
It says subscribe on it.
It says subscribe. And it takes up so little bit of time, but it helps us so much. And people have been subscribing. Thank you to all my people. Whenever I see the views go up and I see subscribes go up too, I'm like, oh, shout out to y'all. Like, it really does help us, and we're so grateful. So keep on subscribing. If you're watching if you keep coming back to watch more, you might as well.
I mean,
just go ahead. I mean, it's like we'll email you. Yeah, we don't email you. We don't bother you. It literally
we
just
really don't.
Yeah, it literally
post stuff for you to watch.
We just post stuff for you to watch. So go ahead and subscribe, and then also
like and comment as well, and also follow us on Instagram.
Yeah,
on
Two
Sisters
LOCD. Two Sisters Locks.
Okay, if you're not on Instagram with us, you are truly missing out on everything. I mean, yeah, YouTube is big, but I mean, we post every single day. Reels, videos, photos
on our stories.
I mean, all the time. So you really don't want to miss out on it.
Yep.
Okay.
Cool.
And now we'll get into the video.
First, babes, if you have an obsession with straight hair, just don't even do it. I'm sorry, like, you're just not ready for them yet. That doesn't mean you never will be. But if right now you feel like the only way that you feel like you look pretty is with straight hair, if that's where your confidence comes from, which I've been there, like, I'm not saying this to like judge, like, I've been there. I remember when I was in high school, that's kind of probably where I was, even though I didn't realize it. And then at the end of my senior year, I decided not to straighten my hair for 4 years. And in that time, I loved my natural hair so much more. I became so much more comfortable with it. I learned a lot of new styles. And it wasn't until towards the end of that time I ended up locking it at 3 years instead. But towards the end of that time is when I ended up locking my hair. So there was a time that I took away from straightening hair, from like that mindset, before I locked it, which I do think is pretty important if you straighten your hair a lot.
And you may not think that you're obsessed with straight hair, but I think one of the things to ask yourself or to think about is when you are going to an event, on a date, or something like that, and you feel like, you know what, I have to have my hair straight for people to like me. I have to have my hair straight to be accepted. Getting locks is going to be difficult for you because you can't just straighten your hair.
I just feel like you have to have an internal confidence to get locks, to realize that there are some people out there who do not like locks, do not like how they look.
Don't like natural hair in general, and you're committing to constant natural hair when you have locks. Yeah,
and I mean, also I feel like specifically with locks, we haven't done a video like this yet, I don't think. But there is a stereotype with locks, sometimes a stigma with some people. And so you just have to fully recognize that, and if you're still stuck on the straight hair, that's fine, but just like stay stuck there for a while before you pay a bunch of money. Yeah, before you pay a bunch of money to get something that you're not going to enjoy and you're going to hate the whole time. Like, you want to enjoy your lock journey.
Right.
So.
But if you really do seek validation from other people and how they think about your hair and what they think about your hair, then locks aren't for you. People are going to, not everybody, for the most part, most people that I know love my locks. I walk around in public and people are like, oh my gosh, I love your locks. Or I see somebody else with locks and I have a conversation. I have really had, I've gotten jobs. I'm working at a hospital doing research. I'm in a grad program and they're perfectly fine with me. Like, nobody's ever said anything to me about it. So I don't want to scare anybody and say, oh, well, people are gonna hate your locks or anything like that. But just know that some people do still have those stereotypes, and you'll probably hear it maybe from family. That's the most common, like where I've heard it from is from like my grandparents. They're not into the locks. Don't think that it's appropriate. My grandmother said, I'm not going to find a man. Nobody's gonna want to marry me, all that stuff. You know, and with other people that I've spoken to, that's mainly who they hear it from too, or it's like maybe their parents aren't into the locks, their grandparents, other relatives, you know. So if that is something that's important to you, where, you know, you love it when people come in your hair, and, you know, you really would feel distraught if people didn't like your hair or had something negative to say about your hair, just know there are gonna be some people that may have something negative to say about your locks. Of course, you have a whole community of lock people like us and other influencers who are here for you and all that stuff, but you might hear something once in a while from somebody. And so if that's something that is really important to you and your security is in your hair, then I would just consider, hey, you know, am I at a stage where I am confident enough about what I want for myself and how I want to look, disregarding what other people think or their opinions, to get locks, to do something like locks.
Another thing to consider is if your hair is currently very unhealthy. So if you have a lot of damage from heat, going back to what we were just talking about, or color, or from tight styles, like your edges are breaking like really far back, or like anything like that.
Your hair's thin.
Yes.
Scalp.
Take some transition time, because locks, as we said, it will make your hair more healthy, but you're gonna go through a really difficult stage if you start on that, because at the beginning it might start to break further and then it'll grow back, of course, and be fine, but at the beginning you're gonna have like maybe spot, I don't even know, like just be careful with that. Yeah, just be careful with that. So like a lot of times they'll recommend like take like 6 months, stay away from the heat, stay away from the color, stay away from the tight braids and wigs, just grow out your hair, keep it healthy, do like twists and stuff to get it back into a good health. It doesn't have to be perfect, but get it back to good health before you put locks in your hair. Because once again, you're paying a lot of money to lock it. If it starts breaking and stuff as soon as after you lock it, because your hair is breaking now because it's damaged, then you just lost all that hair that you locked. It doesn't make sense. So get it to a healthy stage first before you start your locks.
And I would, and then adding to that, I would say, go to a loctician who you trust if you're not sure, because I mean, not everybody knows how their hair is supposed to look when it's healthy, and aren't really good at doing their hair. Find somebody who you can trust, like a loctician who is going to look at your hair and be like, you know, yeah, your hair looks pretty healthy, or you know, you have a lot of breakage at the ends, or you have a lot of this, you know, and who will be able to give you suggestions on what to do with your hair so that you can get it to the place that it needs to be before you lock it. So another thing that I would say is, if you are obsessed with tight styles, but I kind of feel like this doesn't really necessarily just apply to locks, like just in general, tight styles aren't good. But for those of you who, you know, you always have to have your edges laid, like putting a lot of product on your edges to keep them, you know, nice and slick. And then also like who like to pull, like, you know, ponytails and stuff like that very tightly back. Oh my goodness, if you want locks, you're gonna have to get over that. Not to say that your hair has to be walking around and maybe you might think your hair is messy all the time. That's not true. But the issue is like when you do your edges a lot, and people do their edges when they have locks. People do their edges all the time, but you cannot put like tons, like lather all of that stuff on your edges like you did when you were a loose natural, because you don't want that. Product is very thick and like gunky, and it'll get stuck and cause buildup in your locks. For those people who, okay, well, if I'm gonna get locks, I have to have it like super, super perfect and neat all the time, and I'm gonna retwist every 2 weeks, and I'm gonna put all this product. You can't do that. Because you will, because if you're gonna be trying to retwist every 1 to 2 weeks, I mean, you are putting yourself at serious risk for thinning your locks and for them to fall out and stuff like that. So I would just be careful with that.
The other thing is, if you saw one picture on Pinterest of locks that you like, and you're getting them because your locks have to look exactly like that picture,
or you're not gonna like,
you don't like other locks, because you don't like other locks, do not get locks. It will not. I'm gonna tell you this right now. Wait, we're gonna do another zoom in like my last video. I'm gonna tell you right now.
Your face is all out.
I know. I just need to see my lips. They need to like understand. you will not like your locks. Your locks will not look like that one picture. I can promise you. Out of all the locks that can be made in the world, that one picture is not how yours are gonna look, okay?
There's no exact science to this. Yes,
they do
know, you know, they know how to get the type of size that you want. Okay. They do know how to get the type of size you want, and there are things that you can say to kind of control it to some extent, but your hair gonna do what it do.
It's gonna do what it do.
It's gonna do whatever it wants to do.
Have we not learned from when y'all be looking at the perm rod sets and that 3C hair and expect your 4C hair to be the same? And I'm saying you're being me. This was me in middle school. Have we not learned our hair is not all the same?
Even within the same, like if all of our hair is 4C and we all did it, our hair is still not all gonna come exactly the same. So if you don't like locks in general, don't do it. Because
if you think they're ugly, but this person,
right? You can't control for all of that. Your locks are just gonna be the locks that you get.
The other thing is, if you are cheap, and this is coming from someone who is cheap, who went ahead and still did decide to get locks or frugal.
Sister locks.
Traditional locks
doesn't really apply.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on like how much you do your hair now, but like, so I'm a little bit frugal too, and I still decide to get them. So this isn't saying that you absolutely shouldn't, but just something to consider. The locks are expensive. As I've said before, it took me $1,000 to install. Now, as I said, I'm going through like fixing them because the first loctician messed them up quite a bit, and so then I'm paying about probably $1,200 to $1,500 to fix them. And then it's about $150 to $200 every 6 weeks to keep them groomed and like to retighten them. Okay, so like recognize that, and also recognize that just like everything else in life, it goes up with inflation. So as you have them for years and years, I assume you would if you're paying all this money to install them for years and years. Same thing with traditional locks. Like your lock, like where she went, just raise the prices. Like I think like like every so often they're gonna increase the prices. So it started at $150 now. A few years ago it could have been as low as like $120 or something, you know, like over the years, long term, it is gonna increase. So just consider that when you're thinking about it. It's not just about if you like them or not, it's like, are you financially ready or financially willing to get locks, or specifically sister locks, which are very expensive.
Right, because with sister locks, I mean, you're pretty much committing to having somebody else do your hair for you the rest of it.
I do not, unless I decide I want to just for fun, I do not plan to ever want to retighten myself.
Like, it's so easy to retighten traditional locks because you have much less, like I have much less locks than she has like 5 times the amount of, literally, I'm not even kidding, like exaggerating.
No,
look at our lock count video.
Times.
She has 5 times the amount of locks that I have.
And then you can also just do a simple twisting motion where I literally have to weave.
Yeah, she has
I can't see it. It's hard to see. Like
it's a lot. So if you're considering sister locks, you better put some money in an account.
Make sure you're financially ready and willing.
Financially ready and willing. She ended up, and this is not everybody's experience, but she ended up having to fix her locks. So it's a good thing that she had some money saved that she could put towards it, because she didn't have the money to do it.
I just made a crazy locks, child. Crazy locks.
So just something to consider. And last but not least, if you are obsessed, and this kind of goes back to what we were saying earlier, if you're obsessed with this whole idea of an ugly stage, well, let me not say don't get locks, but just think about that, because the thing why it's such a big deal when people have locks and why we're so proud of having them and when they're maturing, and why people, I mean, it's almost like when we have a kid, you know, we don't have kids, but like when people have kids and they're like, oh, they're 18 months, they're 20 months, they're 21 months. And we do the same thing. Oh, I've had locks for 6 months. Ooh, it's my 1 year anniversary. Oh my goodness, 18 months. Is because your hair goes through so much in each stage and each month, especially in the beginning. And you have to, and sometimes your hair is going to look ways that you would not prefer it to look like. Okay, especially if you're starting with like shorter hair. Sometimes it can be hard because you might not have your hair long enough to put it up in a bun and stuff like that. I was able to put it up in a bun when it was looking messy and stuff. But if you don't have that length, you might not have a ton of options to do when you feel like, you know, when you don't feel as secure in them as they're going through that process. And so if you're obsessed with this, oh, well, I don't want my hair to go through the ugly stage and all this stuff. If you have already set it in your head that you are going to have an ugly stage and your hair is going to be ugly and that you're going to hate it, it's going to be so hard for you to go through those months and still be confident and think about the end goal.
And same thing with like wishing for immediate length. Like as you'll see in our last video, like your hair does grow a lot faster with locks. Well, not even grows a lot faster. It retains length, so you can see the length a lot quicker, and you can get a lot longer than you probably could with like loose natural hair. However, it's not gonna come immediately. So if the only reason why you're getting locks is because you want long hair, I definitely, as she said, I wouldn't say don't get them, but just realize that it's going to take time. Your hair still has to grow out your head. Even though you're retaining length, it still has to grow out your head. So you're still gonna have to wait a while for your hair to grow long. So if that's the only reason why you're getting it, once again, consider that, because if not, your first year or 2, 3 years, depending on how short hair you start your locks on,
can be frustrated.
The first few years you're gonna like hate it. Like even now, I mean, I've never cared much about shrinkage because I wear my hair natural most of the time, but with my hair straight is a lot longer than what it is now. Now I like it like this. I actually like this length a lot, and I think it's so cute. But let's say I was someone who like was so obsessed with length, then this might be really hard for me to look at myself like this. You know what I'm saying? So if that is you and you know that right now, just consider that and realize that you're gonna go through a year or 2, maybe even a few years where your hair is short, and that's okay. So that's our video on why you shouldn't get locks.
Maybe shouldn't.
Yeah, on why you should basically think twice. Go ahead and watch our other video, why you should get locks. And then also go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe, as we did our long spiel before, but basically it just helps us out a whole lot. And so go ahead and help us out and do that. And then we also have our Instagram.
Yes, at 2 Sisters Locd. Make sure you guys can reach out to us personally and message or even comment on the YouTube channel. Or maybe if you have some other things that you thought about, like, hey, you know, I struggled with this during my lock journey and I want other people to understand, like, they might go through this as well. Comment that so other people in our community can see it as well.
Yep, and then also comment down below what are some other videos you want to see. We'll be coming out with more like hair focused ones soon, like hairstyles, washing our hair, stuff like that. But comment down below what other videos you want to see from us, what else you want to learn, and we'll put those out in the next few months.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been great hanging with y'all today. So come back soon.
Bye everyone.
Bye.